Someone grabbed my arm just as I reached the door. Rain hammered the streets. A shadow loomed behind me, relentless. Then a stranger leaned close and whispered, "You're in danger. Pretend I'm your dad." In that instant, everything I thought I knew about fear, safety, and strangers shattered forever. The city was a blur of neon reflections and puddles, the kind that make every step feel like a misstep. My heartbeat thrummed in my ears, louder than the storm above. Footsteps echoed behind me, faster whenever mine did, yet always just out of reach. I dared a glance over my shoulder. There was nothing, then a shadow, then nothing again. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, to disappear. The streets were empty except for the rain, and yet I wasn't alone. My phone trembled in my hand, useless against the invisible predator stalking me. The click of boots against wet asphalt was the only constant, growing louder, closer. I ducked into a dimly lit gas station, hoping the fluorescent lights would blur the lines between safety and danger. But when I saw my reflection, panic gripped me. The man had not vanished. He was still there, lurking at the edge of my vision. And that's when a massive figure stepped between us, and my lungs refused to fill with air. He was enormous, leather, tattoos, scars. Every inch of him screamed danger. Yet, the way he moved was deliberate, careful, protective. The smell of rain-soaked leather and old smoke filled the space around him. He leaned close, his voice low, rough, like gravel dragged over steel. "You're in danger. Pretend I'm your dad," he whispered, and something about it froze me in place. My mind raced. Was he threatening me or shielding me? Behind us, the follower faltered, hesitation sparking like a short circuit. The man's hand landed gently on my shoulder. Not a grasp, not a threat, just a presence strong enough to make the danger rethink its approach. The shadow behind the glass retreated, uncertain now, before disappearing. He didn't speak at first. He just stood there, a tower of muscle and leather, scanning the rain-soaked street, every corner, every shadow. His Hell's Angels patch caught the flicker of fluorescent light, making my stomach twist with unease. I wanted to step back, wanted to run, yet something held me in place, a force I couldn't name. His eyes were storm gray, tired, worn, yet sharp, aware of everything except me. In their depth, I glimpsed regret, responsibility, and a loneliness that felt almost human beneath the hardened exterior. His knuckles were scarred, his tattoos tangled in stories I couldn't read. Yet when he glanced at me, there was no threat, only urgency, protection, a silent plea that I understand without words. He finally spoke, his voice low, steady, calm, like a pause in the storm. "You weren't random. He's been following you for days." I didn't ask who he was or why he cared. The answer didn't matter yet. What mattered was that in the chaos of rain, fear, and uncertainty, this man had chosen to step into the storm for me, and that choice would unravel every expectation I had about who can be good and who can't. He introduced himself as D.N.E. Walker, a name heavy with weight and history I could feel but not yet understand. He explained that the man following me had a pattern, targeting women in the city, waiting for the right moment. Today, I was that target, but he hadn't planned to intervene. He was on his way somewhere else, a destination tied to trouble of his own making. Yet when he saw fear etched in my eyes, something long buried stirred awake. Years of violence, regret, and mistakes coiled inside him like a sleeping storm, waiting for the right call to wake. And somehow, in my moment of terror, that storm chose to protect instead of destroy. He didn't make me feel safe by words, but by presence. By positioning himself between me and danger. By turning a chase into a pause, a threat into uncertainty. He left pieces of himself exposed in awe. Over the next few days, I noticed him in quiet ways. Sometimes on purpose, sometimes by coincidence, he rode past my building. Sometimes our paths crossed at the corner store. Each time, I felt a strange mix of fear and reassurance. He moved through the world differently than anyone I had ever known. Every alley, every parked car, every shifting shadow drew his attention. And yet, in moments between danger, he let his guard drop just a little around me. He didn't talk about himself, except in fragments, broken sentences that hinted at a past littered with mistakes and regret. I learned about Maggie, his daughter, a child who had once clung to his jacket and laughed freely. I learned she no longer spoke to him. A wound lingered behind his eyes, silent and raw. And still, despite everything, he kept me safe. Not by promises, not by words, but by presence. A constant, quiet, unshakable shield. I began to understand that danger wasn't the only thing he could guard against. He could also shield someone from the weight of the world, even if he couldn't protect himself. The danger returned faster than I expected. 3 men I didn't recognize cornered me one night near my building stairwell. Their intentions were clear. They knew D.N.E. They wanted to send a message. Before I could scream, the roar of a motorcycle split the night like thunder. He was there, moving faster than the storm, faster than I could process. His fury wasn't born of anger. It was fear for me, raw and immediate. The confrontation was brutal, fragmented, and chaotic. I clung to the edge of the stairwell, heart hammering as fists collided. Shouts filled the air, and adrenaline burned through every vein. He took the hits, deflected the strikes, absorbed the danger that could have been mine. When it ended, I found him bruised, blood on his lip, sweat mixing with rain, trembling but still standing. "Stay back," he warned, but I couldn't. My hands gripped his arm, unwilling to let him face the darkness alone. It was then I realized he wasn't invincible. He wasn't a monster. He was just a man, flawed, scarred, capable of violence, but choosing to protect someone who couldn't protect herself. Days later, we sat in silence. The hospital visit behind us, the adrenaline fading, leaving only exhaustion and quiet. He finally spoke of Maggie, of the mistakes that tore their family apart, the guilt he carried, the years he spent trying to be better but failing to reach her. I listened, words catching in my throat, because the vulnerability in his voice was something I never expected. This hardened man, feared by so many, was terrified of failing someone he loved. He admitted the one thing he couldn't fix alone, the safety of the people he cared about most. He confessed he had spent years trying to reconcile his past, to prove he could be more than his mistakes, and now he faced the consequences of that past spilling into the present. His chest heaved with quiet anguish. I realized then that his protection wasn't just for me. It was for every innocent life tied to the mess he had tried to escape. And I knew, in that moment, I couldn't leave him to bear it alone. With my help, he reached out to Maggie's mother. Communication started slowly, cautiously, but it started. Maggie, curious and wary, eventually agreed to meet him. The night of the meeting, Danny's hands shook harder than they ever had in any fight. His leather, his tattoos, his scars, they were all a shell. Underneath was a man desperate to be seen, desperate to be forgiven, desperate to be understood. Maggie approached him, hesitant, uncertain. He fell to his knees, tears mingling with the rain on his face, as she wrapped her arms around him. In that embrace, years of fear, regret, and loneliness dissolved. The world didn't see the redemption. They didn't see the quiet bravery it took to face past mistakes and make amends. But I did. And in watching it, I understood people who look dangerous, who carry scars and patches the world misunderstands, can also carry the capacity for the deepest courage and care. That night, a man saved more than a life. He saved a part of himself and a family long broken. And I realized how fragile, yet how profoundly strong, people can be when they choose to act from their heart. The storm had faded. The city returned to its rhythm, but nothing felt the same. I remembered that night, every drop of rain, every shadow, every whispered word. "Pretend I'm your dad." It wasn't just a warning. It was a lesson that people carry stories you can't see, that fear and kindness can coexist, that redemption can arrive in forms you'd never expect. A leather jacket, scars, a patch misunderstood by the world. D&E didn't just protect me. He protected the possibility of hope. He reminded me that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting in spite of it. That the world is full of people risking everything for strangers, for family, for redemption. And as I walk these streets now, I see him sometimes, a shadow at the edge of my vision, a silent guardian. I never forget that night. That night, the storm brought me someone the world would call dangerous, but the heart would call protector.